Welcome to today's podcast on communication for leadership and influence. I'm Yogesh, and with me is my co-host Lily. We're diving deep into how communication shapes leadership and drives influence.
Hi, Yogesh. This topic is incredibly important. So often, when people think of leadership, they picture strategy and execution, but communication is the invisible thread that holds everything together.
Absolutely. Let's begin with the fundamentals. What would you say defines leadership communication?
At its core, leadership communication is about clarity, authenticity, and connection. It's the ability to articulate a vision, align people, and inspire action.
That's a strong start. I often tell leaders that communication isn't just a soft skill, it's a strategic skill. How you communicate determines how people perceive your credibility and authority.
Right, and I think we underestimate the emotional component too. Leaders who connect emotionally with their teams build trust faster. That trust becomes the foundation for influence.
Which brings us to influence. Communication is the main driver of influence. You can't influence people without first communicating a clear message and intent.
And it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Your tone, timing, presence, and even body language matter.
Let's unpack that next, how presence and nonverbal cues contribute to leadership communication.
Body language says more than words. Leaders often underestimate their nonverbal cues. For example, posture, eye contact, even a pause. These signal confidence or hesitation.
I've worked with leaders who completely transformed their influence just by mastering presence, how they walk into a room, how they listen, how they hold space.
Listening is an underrated superpower. We often think great leaders are great speakers, but the best leaders are great listeners.
Yes, and active listening in particular. When you listen to understand rather than reply, you earn respect.
It's especially important during conflict or tough conversations. People want to feel heard before they're willing to follow.
I remember a CEO who used to do walk and listen sessions with his staff, just walking around, asking questions, and listening. His presence built trust, and trust multiplied his influence.
That's powerful. Let's talk more about how communication changes depending on the audience, whether you're speaking to your team, your board, or the public.
Great point, Lily. Leaders must be audience-centric. Communication that works for a startup team might not land with a group of investors.
Exactly. It's about empathy and context. What matters to the audience? What language do they use? What are their concerns?
A leader who communicates the same message to every group is like a singer performing the same song regardless of the audience's mood. You must read the room.
One technique I love is perspective shifting. Before any communication, ask, if I were in their shoes, how would I hear this message?
That's powerful. I also teach leaders to frame messages using 3 layers: facts, emotions, and call to action. Tailor all 3 based on the audience.
Let's give an example. Imagine a leader rolling out a major change. How would you communicate that to frontline staff versus senior leadership?
To frontline staff, focus on impact and support. Here's how this change helps you day to day. To senior leadership, here's the strategic reasoning and projected ROI.
That's so true. Adjusting vocabulary, pace, and focus makes all the difference.
Segment 4. Storytelling as a tool of influence.
Now, let's move to one of my favorite leadership tools, storytelling.
Mine too. Facts inform, but stories inspire. Leaders who use stories are remembered. Their messages stick.
And it helps align people to a vision. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. His I Have a Dream speech painted a story, not just a policy.
Exactly. I often advise leaders to collect and craft 3 core stories: the origin story, the vision story, and the team story.
That's brilliant. Can you break that down?
Sure. So, the origin story shares why the leader or company exists. The vision story describes where we're going. And the team story highlights how we've overcome challenges together.
Those stories build emotional connection, and with repetition, they become part of the culture.
Segment 5. Digital leadership communication in the age of remote work.
This is huge. Zoom fatigue, Slack overload, email misunderstandings. Leaders today need digital fluency.
And intentionality. You must be deliberate with tone and medium. A message meant to motivate can fall flat if delivered by email instead of video.
Or cause panic. I've seen one-line emails from execs cause unnecessary chaos.
Tone is often lost in digital text. I encourage leaders to over-communicate clarity and kindness online.
Video updates, voice notes, even emojis used appropriately can reintroduce tone and warmth.
And don't forget accessibility. Remote leadership requires inclusivity. Different time zones, bandwidth issues, neurodiverse teams.
That's so important. Communication must be inclusive and respectful across formats.
Let's wrap this segment by touching on feedback, how leaders give and receive it effectively.
Feedback is where leadership and communication intersect most tangibly. It's where influence becomes personal.
Well said. Giving feedback with empathy and receiving it with humility, that's leadership in motion.
Many leaders struggle with giving constructive feedback. It's not about being nice or harsh. It's about being clear and kind.
One model I love is SBI, situation, behavior, impact. Describe the situation, the behavior you observed, and the impact it had.
That depersonalizes it and keeps it actionable. I also love leaders who ask for feedback. What's one thing I could do better?
It shows vulnerability and models growth, and influence is strengthened when leaders are seen as learners, not know-it-alls.
Absolutely. Influence doesn't come from power, it comes from connection. Leaders who communicate with clarity, empathy, and presence build lasting impact.
That brings us full circle. Communication is not a nice-to-have. It's the core of leadership and influence.
And it's a lifelong practice. We hope today's conversation gave you insights and tools to elevate your leadership.
Thanks for tuning in. Keep leading, keep communicating with intention and authenticity.
Until next time, stay curious and stay connected.